Hey there, everyone. This is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And we are live. And so I have Ken Attard here, and I wanted to have him here because every time I talk to him, mind blown. Okay, so we have to have him here. It's Ken Attard, and he is the founder of Mindset Malta, and he's helping you shift your mindset to create the results that you desire. Now, he has a firm belief that life is not meant to be difficult or a continuous struggle, but it's meant to be fun and flowing, right, Ken? Is that what we're doing?
Absolutely. That's it, man. This is our Sunday afternoon. Well, it's my Sunday afternoon conversation, your Sunday morning conversation. Let's do this. Yeah.
Let's do it. And so if any of you that are going to be watching have any comments or anything, please go ahead and comment. I can actually see some of your comments coming through. Not all of them, but I can see some. So if you want to comment, go ahead. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and mark down replay. Make sure that you share and follow, because I think that this conversation is not going to be just for us here today, but it can continue because a mindset thing is a forever thing, right, Ken? I mean, that's something
Absolutely.
that we have to
as much as of a cliche as it is, it's the journey, man. It's the journey.
It really is the journey. So Ken, since we're going to go ahead and get started, I want you to introduce yourself a little bit more than what I did, because all I did is just introduce like what you believe in, but I want to know who Ken is. So let's go ahead and I know that's a big question, right? Like,
who's Ken? Like the perpetual life question. Who are you?
Who are
right?
You?
I am Iron Man.
Right.
Ken. So who am I? Ken Attard. So basically, I'm Canadian born. But my parents are Maltese, and basically, just to give a little bit of a background, at the age of 14, so after 16 years in Canada, my parents decided they wanted to move back to Malta, meaning I have now been in Malta for approximately, I believe, 42 years now. I'm on to. So I've been here for a while. So to me, that's a sign that I actually do love it here, because I did remain here. And basically, I'm a mindset consultant. And my main focus is I help frustrated entrepreneurs to adapt and pivot their business. And using my proprietary ARC method, they are able to have more time freedom. And this is one of the issues that I think is major when it comes to entrepreneurs, and not just entrepreneurs. So we can talk in general here as well, as to anybody really. Because I think time freedom is something, and freedom in general is something that most people are, let's say, searching for. So basically, for myself, what happened with me was this. Just to give people a little bit of a background, and one of the reasons I started to focus on entrepreneurs was because I'm an entrepreneur myself, have been for over 20 years. And going back to 2005, I got involved in network marketing. Which was a catalyst for me to start to delve into personal development. I literally was introduced to personal development through that, which I think happens to a number of people who get involved in network marketing in one way or another. All of a sudden, I found myself reading books. I was listening to speakers, and I was literally blown away. And I was blown away at the stuff that I was learning, and how the way I think actually has an effect on the results and the experiences that I have in my life. And the thing that blew me away the most was, and I remember it, was that I was like, how come no one teaches us this stuff in school? Mm-hmm. I was like, why? And it was one of the reasons I wanted to continue on that journey, on that path. And I continued to delve into personal development, have ever since. And one of the reasons was I really wanted to bring it to the forefront for anybody who really was open to learning about it. And, especially when I do get the opportunity to potentially be in front of students as well, and get to start to learn this stuff at a very young age, I thought it was like absolutely amazing. Now, my enthusiasm, I look back with my enthusiasm, there's a lot of things throughout my journey that I've learned and I'm still learning. But I look back at my enthusiasm sometimes and I go, oh my God, I must have been so obnoxious in front of some people trying to ram this down someone's throat. Because it was like, I don't know if you remember when you first started delving, and it was like, oh man, people need to know about this. Oh my God, you need to know about this. But there were people who were like, were literally telling me, like, I really don't need to know about this, but I just wasn't listening. I wasn't listening
Right.
enough at the time, right? I just was rambling. So I go look back and I go, okay, no, you were a bit obnoxious there. That wasn't right, but now, you learn. One of the things I learned as a consultant, as a coach, was that, you can't interfere in someone's path unless they ask you.
Right.
If they don't ask you, you have no right to interfere in their path, because their path is the path that they're going down right now, and that's the path they need to go down at this moment in time.
Right.
Now, if they ask for guidance, they ask for help, by all means. And sometimes they need to ask, and then you assist, or attempt to assist, and maybe they'll listen, maybe they won't. And if they don't ask again, I have no right to it. But if they come back and say, listen, I can't. So that was a big lesson for me as well. So, along my journey, and I just kept on delving into personal development. I kept on reading during the span when I was involved in network marketing. I found myself getting in front of groups. I felt very comfortable being in front of groups on a weekly basis, whether they were small groups in my office at the time of 30, 40 people, or whether there were times I was in front of 300-400 people. I felt comfortable. It felt natural to me, and I just went with it. And I've continued to do that. In the meantime, I've gotten my NLP Master Practitioner as well, which I've had for a number of years now as well, which is one toolbox that I use. It's an amazing toolbox, but it's one that I use amongst many. And I've just continued along that path, Nina. And I just love being able to help people really, get through. Like I said, my focus now is on entrepreneurs. And the reason it is because I believe entrepreneurs are present leaders. Some of our present leaders, some of our future leaders. And if they can understand that there actually is a process to the way they think, and how that has an effect on their results and their experiences, and they understand that, I believe that leaders can then start to actually pass that on to their people and their organizations. And as they do that, they start to change a whole culture of an organization. And so one entrepreneur at a time, one organization at a time, we can essentially, or I believe there's a possibility that we can actually start to change a whole culture of the way we think, so that we can actually have fun while we're doing our business. And this is what's intrigued me along the way. It's so ingrained. Again, it's just so ingrained at how, an entrepreneur needs to suffer, how an entrepreneur needs to sacrifice, how an entrepreneur needs to struggle. We hear this constantly.
So true.
We hear this constantly. And don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you are not going to go through your challenges throughout your career. You are. But if you start from the premise that as an entrepreneur, I need to struggle. Like, who decided that you can't make a profit before 5 years have gone by? Like, who decided that?
Yes. I mean, I guess it was decided by the patterns maybe that you see in other businesses, right?
Potentially. Yet that doesn't mean it needs to be true for each and every person.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. What if there are also people who have made profit, for instance, and we're just talking about profit here because it's something very, let's say, tangible, but people who have made profit from the outcome, from the very beginning. And the way I look at it is, it's just a shift in the way you believe. It's a shift in the way you think. And this is my message, is that your entrepreneurial lifestyle does not have to be a continuous struggle. Right. It does not have to be continuous suffering. That you're the only person that decides that.
It's almost like a badge of honor if you do.
That's right. Here's the trophy. You did it. but it's
falling apart, but you got the trophy.
Yeah, listen, you had to go through the, you had to drag yourself through the mud. You had to lose everything, but you pulled yourself out. Now I understand these make great stories. Don't get me wrong, because they are phenomenal stories. When they make great inspirational stories, when people have gone through suffering, gone through struggles. Like, this is the thing though. Like, each and every one of us, as I said, each and every one of us has our path.
Right.
Okay. And my lessons are not your lessons, and your lessons are not my lessons. There could be some stuff that intertwines. Absolutely. And I just need to go through those. Now, they're yours, and they're yours to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we're here on this planet learning certain lessons. And I'm learning certain lessons at this point in time. You may be learning certain lessons and some of my, let's say, challenges might look minuscule compared to
Yeah.
your challenges.
Yeah.
But they're my
And vice
challenges,
versa. Yeah. Get
and
that.
I can't diminish that from anybody, because I could look at it's interesting. So, in the past I've had some challenges, even financially, for instance, and I just look at it now as those experiences were preparing me to be
Mm-hmm.
able to help and assist other people who are going. And someone might come to me with a challenge and say, "Listen, can I have, I don't know, X amount of, I have X amount of debt that I need to repay, and it's really worrying me and it's really concerning me." Now I'm looking at this X amount and I'm going, "Oh my God, if you only knew how much I had at the time, this is nothing. Don't worry,
Right.
dude. You're going to get through this. No problem. It's minuscule."
Right.
But for them, it's not minuscule.
Right.
It's a big thing, because that's their path. And I think as coaches and consultants as well, it's very important for us to empathize with that and understand that,
Mm-hmm.
that is a big thing for them right now.
Yeah.
Now it's for us to show them, okay, let's shift this. Let's look at it from a different perspective.
Right.
Let's see how we can look at this so that it doesn't look as big.
Right.
Because we're creating the story in our heads ultimately. So this has led me down to where I am at this point in time. And in what is interesting, just a bit of a bit of history, was that I've been, like I said, I've been delving in personal development for a long time, and it's amazing. Like one of my first mentors, was actually my cousin, who I got in touch with at that time when I was involved in network marketing. And I got in touch with her. She was in Canada. We hadn't been in touch for a while. And I just got in touch with her with my enthusiasm, saying, "Listen, do you know anything about network marketing? Have you ever looked into it?" And she's like talking to me going, "What would you like to know? Because I did that like years ago." And then she's like, and I found out that basically she was traveling across North America, actually speaking and teaching personal development.
Oh.
Yeah. So our paths crossed again. And ultimately, then I invited her to come to Malta and say, "Listen, would you be interested in talking to a group of people that I have?" And she created an event. At the time was Success Intensive, which then became 9 Principles of Personal Power. She actually became my NLP trainer, and things just evolved like that. She actually lives here now.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, so this is where like it just all sort of like started, and it started to come together, and piece by piece. And I just kept going with it, and I love it, and it's just been a really interesting journey. And then I sort of was like I was doing things sort of like really literally sort of like on the side, all by referral, have a client here and there, and and enjoying that. And then it was at the end of 2019, I said, "You know what? I'm really just going to get out there now. I think I'm like ready. I just want to get out there." And I just created a Facebook page, which was called Mindset Malta, which was very generic. And I was just putting up some live videos just with a message here and there. And then lo and behold, 2020 came along, and we all know 2020.
Yep.
And I had another business, which literally got sort of like stopped, which literally got halted. And I said, "You know what? I never want to be in a position again where something outside of me can halt my business." And I just went into this. I just said, "You know what? I'm going to go full speed ahead with my mindset consulting." And I decided to work with entrepreneurs. And lo and behold, I'm in front of you here today. and
That's awesome. Yeah. That takes a lot, though. That takes a lot of like, guts to step out, right? Because it sometimes it takes that, as a coach of mine I was talking to, sometimes it takes the brick in the face to make you realize that there's something you got to do, right? And I'm like, that's a great way to put it, because this feels like sometimes like a big brick in the face, right? 2020 felt like a big brick in the face for a lot of people. And I think that that's why, there's a challenge, at least here in the States, of people going back to work. And I think the challenge is that people found out that they don't want to rely on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people have started their own businesses, because they're like,
Well,
Yeah.
it was without a doubt a wake up call for many people.
Yeah.
I think it was a wake up call. Um, I think it was a wake up call when it comes down to as well people's values as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think people started to realize that there is more to life than just their business or just their work.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. Like I can understand how it's very easy to get caught up in the. So whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are an employee, it's very easy to get caught up in the everyday tasks
Mm-hmm.
of your life. So whether it's you got to get to work on time, you got to be doing these tasks, you got to be doing this as an entrepreneur potentially. You got to be taking care of this, you got to be taking care of this, and what happens is you can find yourself in a position where you're always going. You're always going. So
Right.
2020 was a wake up call for some people saying they had no choice.
Right.
They had no choice. They had to slow down.
Right.
Like it just the way the circumstances presented themselves, they had to slow down. And as they slowed down, it actually gave people time to reflect, to look at their lives, to realize what potentially is most important to them. Some people realized, holy mackerel, I really haven't been spending enough time with my family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm really enjoying this slowing down has given me the opportunity. Now I understand there's other things lurking potentially in the background, concerned about work and having stability and these things, but it was a wake up call with certain values. So now some people might be finding themselves shifting back to, let's say, going back to work, and they're going to go back but am I actually going to go back to what I was doing before
Right.
or not? And many will.
Yeah.
Many will,
Yeah.
because as you know, they're going to go to the default. They're just
Yeah.
going to go to default, and the way they have thought and the way they've done things, they're just going to continue to do it. This is why it's so important to understand your thinking process, so that you can actually purposefully think about what it is you want to do and the results and the outcomes that you actually do want,
What are
rather
some?
than just
Mhm.
go ahead.
No. I was going to ask, what are some of the challenges that you've been seeing with entrepreneurs? Like, because you had mentioned earlier, that entrepreneurs have a certain way of thinking, right? And so, what are the challenges, or not challenges? I shouldn't say it that way, but what are some of the mindsets that you're seeing with some of the entrepreneurs that need to to move forward? Like, what are some of the things that
So
you're seeing?
yeah, okay. So I'm for me, like I love talking about, and we've heard the word pivot a lot
Yeah.
during this time, but I also like to talk about adapting and pivoting. So even in my ARC method, for instance, one of the pillars of the ARC method is adapting, and which essentially is change. And the thing is this: change is always happening. It doesn't matter what type of economy we're in. What doesn't matter what type of situation, circumstance. Change is always happening. It's the
Right.
it's the constant.
Right.
Ironically, it's the constant. Change is the constant. And for me, one of the biggest challenges that I find with anybody, but let's talk about entrepreneurs as well, is this is and again, I'll say this again, anybody, because it is mindset,
Right.
or as you like to talk about, mind flow. It's mindset. And why do I say this? And this is something that I like to call, and I came up with not too long ago, was actually something I like to call the triple U syndrome. And the U being the letter U. Okay. And
Mhm.
essentially it's this is that most people, most entrepreneurs, most people have heard of mindset,
Right.
very aware of mindset, very aware. And I use aware very loosely here.
Yeah.
They have knowledge of mindset. So they may have come across a podcast, they may have come across a TED talk, may have come across something like we're doing today and go, oh man, this is really interesting. This is really intriguing. I need to look into this.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is this, the first U of the triple U syndrome is that they underrate mindset. It gets underrated. So
Yep.
because it gets underrated, it's like I said, oh, this looks really interesting. I need to look into that. And they might look into it for a day, maybe 2 days,
I
maybe
was
a
the
week.
same. Yeah, I was the same. I get that.
Right. And
Mhm.
you just literally, and they just go, okay, I'll come to it. But again, getting lost in the everyday tasks, the everything, I got to take care of this, I got to take care of this. And it just gets lost there. Because they underrate it, the second U is they underestimate it.
Right.
And again, it just because they underestimate. And when I say underestimate, if I were to tell you that your mindset is your superpower, it's like it's your superpower.
Right.
It is what is going to, if you want to say make or break you, get you the results that you want or not get you the results that, or get you the results that you don't want. If you want to look at it that way, it's going to determine the results and the outcomes in the experiences of your life. It's your superpower.
Right.
But because it gets underrated and underestimated, it gets underutilized.
Right. I was thinking underutilized in my head. Right.
It gets underutilized. It just gets left there because,
Right.
then I'll get to it. Now, anybody listening, I want to let you off the hook. And the reason I want to let you off the hook is this, is that it really and truly is not your fault. It's not your fault because potentially up until this point, and I'll make that clear, up until this point, it's not your fault. You were unaware that it was your superpower.
That's your fourth you.
Unaware. There you go. Nice.
Now you just grew your U's.
There you go. You were unaware that it was your superpower. And what happens is this. That's why it gets underrated and underestimated and then eventually underutilized, is because your belief in it is still not strong enough.
Right.
Because if you knew it was your superpower, you would take that thing over. If it was an object, if mindset was a thing, you would take it from here and you would bring it in front of you.
Right.
Every single day. Every single day you'd say, okay, I want to learn this one little bit more about the way I can think and what I can do to shift the way I think. And tomorrow I want to do one bit more. And tomorrow I want to do one more. And it will have an effect on every single area of your life, whether it's your wealth, your health,
Right.
your relationships, your spirituality, and your personal development. Because if you're not like personally development, if you're not moving forward, you're not going to, you literally don't remain static. Like you're either moving forward or you're not, or you literally can move backwards. But if you're going to remain never changing anything, never changing the way you think, then nothing's going to change.
Right.
And this is, and the interesting part of it is this, is the minute you are now aware, oh, so I can change. What do you mean I can change my thoughts? What do you mean by that, Ken? Well, very simply put, it's like this. Your thinking has an effect on your feelings, on your emotions. The way you're thinking is affecting your emotions. Your emotions are now having an effect on the actions that you take and your behaviors. So, you're in just use a very simple example. You're in a really good mood. Okay, I'm ready to do things. I'm ready to take the actions that I need to take. I'm creating good behaviors. And that ultimately is going to have an effect on your results and the experiences you're having in your life. So thinking create the emotions. Emotions create the actions and behaviors. The actions and behaviors lead you to your results and your experiences.
Right.
Now, if you start to be honest with yourself, and this is really important, and this is all connected. This is the part that before I move to that, let me just make this clear. So this is one of the biggest difficulties or challenges that I see with entrepreneurs, is that they do not understand the thinking process that's going on. So it's very haphazard.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I like to give the example. It's like taking a bouncy ball in a room, throwing this bouncy ball, and this thing is just careening off walls left, right. You don't know where it's going next. It's on the floor, it hits this wall, then it goes off this wall. And this is how people are living their lives. One day it's a good day. The next day it's not such a great day. The next day is a horrible day. The next day is a fantastic day. Because they're not doing things intentionally. They're not realizing that their thinking isn't purposeful.
Right.
So once there is this awareness of it, now you go, oh, so I can think differently to change the outcomes? Absolutely.
Right. Right.
And then you can tie that in, your thinking now. So you talk about your thinking, that's going to be tied in with your beliefs. The way you're believing, because a belief is simply a thought that's been thought over and over and over and over and over. This is why teachers are in such a powerful position, and I always like to mention this for the most part, because they're in very powerful positions with their words as well. Parents, without a doubt, are in very powerful position with their words. How long can a child listen to "you're good for nothing, you're good for nothing, you're good for nothing, you're good for nothing" until they actually start to believe it?
Right.
All right. And obviously the opposite as well. We encourage, listen, you got this, you can do this, you can achieve anything you'd like to achieve, and until they actually start to believe it.
Right.
Right. So they're in very powerful positions. Now, shifting beliefs, that's a different thing as well, because sometimes we need to shift certain beliefs. And that's what's holding us back. Potentially that could be holding someone back, not realizing that they have some beliefs that are going on they might not even be aware of. There might be some unconscious ones going on. And again, let you off the hook. A lot of that happened when you were a kid. Some of those beliefs were ingrained when you were a child, between your birth and the age of 7. A lot of stuff got ingrained, and that's what you were taught. And not because parents, for the most part, a lot of them have really good intentions, yet they're teaching you what they believe.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's perfect, as any parent will attest to. We never get it 100% perfect. We would love to.
I wish. I wish. I tell you,
right?
I think the some of the key takeaways about what you're saying too is that you have to want it, though. You have to want to do the work, right? Like you said, pulling it off the shelf and bringing it to to the forefront of learning about mindset, mind flow, all of that. And I think for a lot of people that I've spoken to, it has a lot to do with also not wanting the accountability, not wanting to do the work, not wanting to put in the effort, right? A lot of times we just want to keep going with the flow. At the same time, we're complaining about things not going well. Right. So, this is where the conundrum comes in. Right. So you have to do something, though. You have to do something. Like, it's not just going to come to you. That's why, when I got into personal development, I really started to really dive into personal development, because I realized, coming from a background that I came from, which was so hard for me, right? I had to realize that I needed to shift my thinking in order to move forward in a lot of things. And so I started listening to podcasts, reading books, watching YouTubes, like talking to people who are higher thinkers than I am, and so on and so forth, right? And that has transformed my entire life and my whole trajectory of where I'm going.
And what a blessing.
Right. It is such a
And
blessing.
what a blessing,
Yeah.
because, and this is where a lot of people get stuck as well. Like, what a blessing, because potentially, if that had not happened, now I'm not condoning any type of particular behaviors or anything like that, far from it. But when we can look at it from a perspective that, that was a blessing, because that was a catalyst for you to take those actions.
Exactly.
And say, you know what, it showed you what you don't want.
Right.
Now, we understand that we don't want to focus on what we don't want, because we create more of it.
Right.
Yet, every time we do recognize what we don't want, we automatically create what we do want in this vibrational escrow, if you want to call it, or vibrational. We create what we do want. Now we need to learn to align with that vibration. Right. So that we attract everything that we want to us. But this is important for people to realize that there are many situations that at first we look at a bad situation. Yet when we look from, let's say, from a higher perspective or from a different perspective, often they are blessings, because they got us to actually look at our situation and say, you know what? I want to change this situation. And something else that you mentioned that's really interesting is that many people, like you said, they have to want to change. That's absolutely true. But it's interesting when you ask someone, because when people don't want to change, there is some sort of secondary gain that they're getting out of it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they don't want to change.
Sure, 100%.
And sometimes it's exactly what you said. Sometimes they don't want to change, because then that means they have to be accountable.
Right.
And many people don't want to be accountable. No, I don't want to take that responsibility. No. Right? Like, they don't want to change it. They don't want to change it because oh, you mean I have to look at it now? I have to take responsibility? No, 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 no. This is everyone else's fault, not my fault, right?
Yep.
So that's that. I think that's a really interesting perspective. That people have to want to change, like you're saying, and many people will say they want to change, but it's not really true. They don't really want to change because they've gotten used to that. They've gotten used to that. They're comfortable with that situation. They're comfortable with those emotions of complaining all the time, and it becomes a part of their identity.
It does. I mean, you probably have gone through this too with your clients. Like you start to realize who's willing to do the work and who isn't. And so when I start to realize that someone is just not going to do the work, that they're just coming to just unload and then not do anything about it, I tell them, I'm sorry, we're not a good fit.
That's it.
I'm going to hold you accountable, and this is not working. Right. So when
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
ready, you come back. They don't normally like that. Normally
Well,
not too happy, but I don't want to put in like all of, you're signing up with me for like 3 months or whatever it is, and you're not doing the work. Now it looks like I am not doing my part as your coach or mentor, whatever it is, because I don't really give myself a title. I just kind of feel like I practice mind flow. This is what I do, and I help people get unstuck and move forward, right? Like what you do, you help them move forward. And so if somebody is just stuck, and they don't want to move, we're not a good fit. We're not a
That's
good
it.
fit,
And again, and even that way of thinking, and again, so let's tie it in with this as well, is because that's coming from it's coming from an abundance mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I mean by this? So you're willing to say, listen, we're not a fit. It doesn't make sense for us to work together because it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for me. It serves nobody.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm speaking from a place of abundance and not from a place of, oh, I need to hold on to this client because I need the money or I need this or whatever it may be, from a place of desperation.
Right.
Which is a lower energy.
Right.
It's coming from an abundant mindset because, okay, there isn't this client. It's not a match. It's okay.
Yeah.
There are others.
Yeah.
There are others
Well, I mean,
who are waiting and willing.
I mean, I'm glad you said that because I didn't really look at it as an abundant mindset, but that's great. I looked at it more of like, that's just who I like, my personality of who I am, right? I like to help people that want to be helped. Like you said, you mentioned that in the beginning, right? I think it's super important that the people that we're impacting want to be impacted, and if you don't, that's okay
Absolutely.
too. That's okay too.
That's okay.
That's okay. I mean, and maybe, and I love what you said before is like, some people are not ready yet. And that's true, Ken, because I wasn't ready for a long time either. Right. So I've always been kind of interested in personal development, but never, I did the first I put kind of like underrated it, right? I put it to the side but yet still struggled. I struggled with, depression, anxiety, like worry, all of that stuff was a constant thing. I am a go-getter though. So I thought I was okay. Right? You have those people who have that personality, that have grit, that go after it, that just fight and do what they got to do.
And you will get there. Like, I mean,
you
will.
It's just hard as hell.
Exactly. This is the thing. You will get with let's say with sheer determination,
right,
and sheer willpower. You ultimately will get there. There's a very good chance. There's a better chance that you will get there. Yet you're just making it more difficult than it needs to be. When you then start to add the mindset part and the thinking part, it just makes going. And again, I like to say this now. It's not even a matter anymore. It's been determined now. It's not even a matter of going from A to B anymore. Right. Like I said, it's actually about drawing. So B being where you want to go, what you want to arrive at, or some of the stuff that you want to achieve. It's not even a matter of you going from A to B anymore. It's actually a matter of drawing B to you.
That's good.
Which is alignment. It's literally drawing B to you rather than, and which is easier. And when I say easier, it's just much more natural. It's a natural flow. Whereas you going towards now a straight line, A to B, okay, it's shorter. When there's all the frustration and all the struggle and the determination, all that, it's sort of like a much more squiggly line. Like you said, you'll ultimately get there. And again, I'm going to throw this in as well. Where are you going to anyways?
Right.
What, where are you going to anyways? This is so important as well. Even when it comes, like, you're not getting there. I'm going to tell you right now, you are never gonna get there.
There, wherever there is, right?
Right. But and especially when you are creating what we call, when there equals happiness, where there equals success, where you're not going to get there, because you're going to get there and then you're going to go, okay, so now what?
Right.
So let's say it's gotten, you had this like financial goal or business goal, whatever it was, and it took you, and you had a 5-year plan or whatever it may be, and it took you 5 years to get there, and you finally made it. But during those 5 years, you were miserable, you
Right.
were worried, you were depressed, you made the people around you miserable, you had no social life, you neglected your health completely, and you arrive there in 5 years, and then you go, oh, so now all of a sudden you have this thing called success and everything's okay. Poof,
Right.
it's done. It's
Right.
not.
Right.
It's not. And this is why, as much of a cliche as it is, it's your journey, man. It's being it's being in that moment. And again, they are cliches, but they are truths.
Yeah.
That you're in this moment, and people get lost. Recently I'm pretty sure it was Eckhart Tolle I was listening to, and he was talking about purpose. And so many people are talking about, because I'm in search of my purpose, and which is wonderful, and I think it's an amazing thing. But he said, you know what? He said, what it's really interesting to understand is this: is whatever you're doing at any given moment, that's your purpose. So as I speak to you here, my purpose right now is to have this conversation with you, to give you my full attention, to be in this present moment now, so that I can give the listeners what they deserve to listen to, and what I feel potentially could be what they need to listen to.
Right.
And that's my purpose. The minute I leave from here and I move on to the next thing, whatever it is, that now is my purpose.
Right.
And as we move from moment to moment in that purpose, what happens then is automatically, let's say your higher purpose, it's going to start to unfold for you. It'll start to unravel itself, and it will start to present itself, rather than you having to go and search for it.
Right.
It'll start to present itself.
And I think
this.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this is a really essential, like an important thing for people to understand, that wherever you are right now, it's perfect. Like, I get it that sometimes it seems like a very difficult situation, but when you can understand that it is perfect, exactly where you are right now is perfect. Curveballs are going to be thrown at you every so often, but it doesn't mean that nobody's hit a home run with a curveball before. It's been done many a time, right?
So
right? So you know what? You might, so it's just understanding that everything is so perfect. And I think what's really important about that as well is, I think it's a huge weight that gets lifted off one's shoulders when you realize, you know what? It is what it is right now. And let me just be present in this moment. I've been thrown this curveball, or whatever it is, the situation. It is what it is. Okay, how can I now begin to move forward from this situation?
Right. And usually, like you were talking about getting there, and I think about the journey, like you're talking about, and it's so much beauty in the journey, because even in the curveballs and the hard things that happen, the things that throw us off, the wisdom that we gain, the grit that we gain, the tenacity that we gain, right? I mean, we're not promised tomorrow anyway, but at least if we're in this moment, we're good. There's a takeaway. There's some takeaway at some level, right? And so I think lots of people, me included, and would always look at, okay, when I make 6 figures, that's it. Well, I'm making 6 figures. Like,
So like, okay, so that
right? So
it's not.
it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It really isn't. Like there was a great example of this with the first astronauts.
Hmm.
You know, they trained all their life to go to the moon. They did not prepare them psychologically afterwards
Right.
because they came back, the parades, they're done, they're finished, it's over.
Right.
You've
Right.
just gone to the moon. What's next?
Right.
This has been my
Right.
life's identity. Holy man, what do I do now?
Right.
Right?
Like
Now,
you
if you're
literally went to the moon. Like literally.
yeah,
Like what
literally went
now?
to the moon. Like, what do I do now? Like holy, like talk
So
about like
true.
an identity crisis, right? Because this is the thing, it becomes part of, it becomes part of people's identity so much that now once you've taken that away, so it's my identity is, and we'll use your example. So my identity is connected with reaching the six figures. So it's always been about, okay, so Nina's on her way to reaching six figures. Nina's on her way to reaching six figures. It's become so ingrained. Nina's reached six figures. Oh,
Exactly.
who's Nina now? Who's Nina? Who's Nina? Oh my God! Like I reached six figures. Oh, who am I now? This happens with women when children leave the house.
Yes.
Like again, and that
Empty
they
nest
made their life,
or whatever.
and
Yeah.
it's a wonderful purpose. Don't get me wrong, family and whatever, but they've never done anything for themselves potentially to keep that going.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the house is empty, and they're like, "Holy crap! My identity has just left the house.
Yeah.
What do I do now?" So any identity, and this is important with anybody that like I work with or whatever, is that if we're going to get rid of an part of your identity, we do need to replace it with something else.
Yeah, we do.
Right? As simple as a smoker.
Right.
If I am a smoker, it's their identity. It's part of their identity, for instance. Now they want to get rid of that. If they want to get rid of that, they're going to have to refill it with, they're going to have to fill that void with something. In relationships, the same thing happens. Codependency, same thing, when things are so codependent between a couple, for instance, which is one of the big challenges in couples as well, is that, they do everything together, which is wonderful. But now all of a sudden your happiness relies on them.
Right. Right.
And so many and again, I'm going to let people off the hook. This is the way you were taught. And I mean, pick up any anniversary card and see what's written inside.
Right.
And many times, with the greatest of intentions, you complete me. No one completes you. You complete yourself. No one completes you. Your happiness and your happiness does not depend on anybody. Yeah. As much as you do not, you don't enjoy seeing your partner upset, and you have compassion. Yet what so many people do is that let's say one of the partners is upset, so they brought their vibration down. The other partner is now upset because they're seeing their partner upset.
Right.
And they bring themselves down. Rather than staying here and saying, you know what, my happiness does not depend on this. Right. I can be compassionate, I can be understanding, I can listen, but I want to bring her or him back up. And the only way for them to do that is to observe you remain here.
Right.
And as they see that, hey, and I think that's a big weight off in relationships. It's a big weight off both each other's shoulders, because now I don't always have to be this chirpy, cheerful guy because I want to make her happy.
Right.
I can be myself,
mm-hmm.
and vice versa, So I understand. So now her happiness doesn't depend on me.
Right. Right.
I know that her happiness depends on her. Mine depends on me. So these are. I mean, I know I'm going a bit off tangent here, but it all interlocks, because this is the same thing with our businesses. How many business people, entrepreneurs, identity is so ingrained in their business?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if there's a shift in a business, or it doesn't go as well as they thought, and they're still holding on to that bad boy, like this is going to work, and it's not working.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, you can't.
I've been there, done that. It was like,
we all have.
This is my baby. I don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
I was like, but Ken, like you're holding on to this for nothing. Like,
Right.
let it go. It's all going to be okay, right? It's
So
all right.
true. It's
But
really
but
hard.
but
Yeah.
because then we start to think a lot of things as well. What are people going to think about me? Do I look like a failure? Do I, and all these things, that the stories we start to create in our head,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. One of the things
And
that have ran into a little bit in the beginning with a lot of these professional women that I talk to and deal with and stuff is that I'm like, well, let's talk about maybe some beliefs that you might be having around this issue that could be limiting you. I don't have any limiting beliefs. My beliefs don't limit me.
well, if you need to defend them, you definitely have a few. But
Right.
anyways,
And I'm just like, oh, okay. So let's talk about this. And then of course the limiting beliefs come up. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's a belief that's limiting you. But okay, let's move on, right? And it's just funny because I think that we think as entrepreneurs or as people who are professionals or like strong-minded, they think that anything is a weakness, right? So if there's a belief that limits them, it's a weakness. It's not a belief that limits them. You're like they're constantly like trying to be the tough guy in the room, and it's not necessary. It's just not
oh yeah,
necessary,
and just because, yeah, and absolutely, and just because you are an entrepreneur, you're a CEO, you're a founder of a company. I would love to say that I have all the answers
Right,
all the time. I
right,
don't. That's
right,
why I like to turn to people who are, they have their zone of genius. And I
right.
go, listen, this is your zone of genius, dude. I have a challenge here. Can you assist me and tell me what would be the best way to move forward? Like, I think that's more powerful than thinking that you have all the answers. I mean, and some people are put in positions, let's say someone got promoted. They got promoted to a position where, but they haven't been trained as a manager, or they haven't been trained and they don't have all the answers.
Right, right,
And
and that's
sometimes,
okay. Right,
and yeah, and exactly. And to think that you're gonna have all the answers all the time, that's
yeah,
it's a bit presumptuous. I mean,
yeah,
it's just, and it's actually an insecurity, not being willing to actually, turn to someone and say, listen, you know what, I need some help with this.
right, right,
Because we all need help once in a while. We all, no one's done it completely on their own. I mean,
right.
who's done it completely on their own? I mean, if someone says they've done it completely on their own, it's either taken them a very long time or they're lying.
Right. Right. So tell me really quick because I know we're wrapping towards the end, but I wanted to know about. I know you were talking about the arc, and I don't know if we've touched on those, but I didn't hear you actually mention each one. So can you just quickly go
No,
through that with me?
sure, absolutely, absolutely. So I came up with an arc, and I chose arc methods simply because an arc is one of the strongest structures in architecture
Hmm.
as a foundation.
Right.
And basically, there's 5 pillars to the arc method that I use, which are awareness, which we've touched upon a bit, adapting, which is change,
That's great.
alignment, which is essential,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
which is aligning with your higher self. It's getting into we've mentioned frequency, but getting into that. There's something bigger than you. There's something bigger than you. And again, you can call it whatever you'd like to call it. Some people like to call it God. Some people call it the divine. Some people call it source. You can call it John. You can call it Bob. You can call it Bill. It really doesn't matter. But there is something higher than you that is really holding everything together in this universe. And aligning and learning how to align with that. So alignment is very, very core. Then there's applying, which is actually, taking the action
Right.
as well, right? And then there's allowing, and allowing is all about trust. So these 5 pillars, and I have a program which is called the Inside Lane, in fact,
Okay.
because it's all about going inside.
Now, the trust part, is it trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting you as their coach? What is the trust part?
So the trust part is really and truly all of those things. So
Okay.
more than anything, it is trusting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and also trusting, as we said, everything is perfect. So if you truly have a belief that everything is perfect, there really is nothing for you to worry about. And trusting in the divine, that everything is going to come together exactly the way it's meant to be, exactly in the right timing, and it's going to unfold perfectly for you, which is going to be for your higher self.
Right.
And when we can trust that, the thing is this: when we get to trust, it's part of the alignment. And when we are aligned, it's impossible for you, because when you are aligned with your higher self, there's everything you want is there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no disease, there's no lack. It's all there for you. It's waiting there. But when we can trust that, we can truly trust that everything's unfolding perfectly, then we really have nothing, because we're truly trusting in, like, in the States, I mean, you have it, like, in God we trust. It's written, right? The thing is this: do people actually believe that?
Right.
Do you actually trust?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do you actually trust?
And trust doesn't mean perfect either. That's the thing, right? Like, trust.
But it is perfect.
Well, yes.
Perfect is a perception.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is
The way you look at perfection, the way you look at perfection is only a perception. But it's no. So let's say this. So again, you're on the first floor of a 30-story building, and someone's on the 30th story. You're leaving the building, getting into your car, and the guy on the 30th floor is telling you, Nina, don't take that street because there's a traffic jam down there. Don't take the normal street you usually take. Take the other street. And you're going, no, because that's way longer. That street's way longer. But that other person has a whole different perspective, telling you it's not going to be longer because there's a traffic jam there. You can't see it. So that's perfect. It's perfect that you're going to go down this longer route. Although right now you might not be seeing it as perfect.
Right. No, and that's what I was going to say, that things might not seem perfect. I think hindsight is a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at my life and all that I've been through, I realized it was perfectly orchestrated for who I am today. It was perfectly orchestrated for the women that I impact today. It was perfect for that. Right. And I think it built my personality. It built who I am. It built my grit. It built how I know. It built my intelligence. So I agree. I agree with that. But me and you can get down a whole nother tangent on this one.
Oh, you have no idea where we could go with this. I mean, like, it's just like,
Ken, you are amazing. And I'm so glad that you spent this time with us today. Really glad you did that.
It's been an absolutely pleasure. I don't even know how much time's gone by. It's been an absolute pleasure for me.
50 minutes of amazingness is what's been going on here. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you go ahead and comment below. I will make sure to get Ken's information so I can link that below for you. Especially if, he works with anyone, but especially if you're an entrepreneur, is really, his main focus to help you kind of get through a lot of the difficulties, right? So we want you to know that at least his firm belief and mine is that life is not meant to be difficult or a continuous struggle. And I love that you put that in your bio, because that's so true. And I love the way you started this. Like, who told us anyway that we're supposed to be struggling for 5 years? And the truth is we told us that, right? We told us that because we listened to other people's experiences. And that's why I talked about yesterday on my live about run your own race. Stop trying to run somebody else's race. Run your own. Because when you try to run somebody else's, you will lose. You will lose. Right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Always running somebody else's race. It's not going to work.
And it's so important to remember to, this lifetime that we have here is so short.
So short.
So remember, this is imperative. Remember to laugh a lot more every single day, even if it's laughing at yourself.
Right. I love comedy too. So when I'm down, that's what I do. I put on a comedy or something.
Perfect.
I always do that. So that's amazing. Thank you, Ken. You are amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us. Make sure that you go ahead and click like, subscribe, share, and let everyone know about this video, because I think this will help a lot of people kind of think about what they're thinking about, realigning their thought process, and knowing that mindset and personal development is for your personal development. That's why it's called that. And so, even if you're not interested or don't want to do the work, I say take it off the shelf. right? That first you, stop underutilizing. Is it underutilizing or
The first one's underrated.
underrated? Stop underrating it, because I am telling you from someone who has been at a place where I wasn't into personal development. It is really transformed my life. It really, really has, and has helped me now transform the life of my kids, transform the life of my spouse, my employees, all of it. So check it out, because I think it'll benefit you greatly. I will make sure to attach Mindset Malta's information, Ken Attard's information also below. That way you can follow, like, share, support, all of that. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is Nina Perez. This is Straight Talk, no sugar added. And I think that's it, Ken. I think we're good, unless you have something you'd like to add.
I'm good. Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
It's been a pleasure having you. So let's go ahead and see you guys soon.